So this week we're talking fairway woods. If you can learn to hit your fairway woods off the ground effectively, you can start to get much closer to the green on these long par fives. Now this week I had a golf school with a number of students really struggling with this part of their game. Some would top the ball, some would thin it, some would really struggle to get the ball airborne. Now by the time we'd finished, every single one of them were striking it loads better and their confidence had really come up. In this video, I'm going to give you basically 5 simple ways that you can kind of use or adapt to help you hit your woods off the ground effectively and really consistently. The likelihood is you won't need them all, but a combination of 1 or 2 is going to super help. Now, before I get into the video, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first lessons of mine, please consider subscribing. I release videos just like this every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, you never have to remember a thing. I'll always put a free download practice guide in the description box below. So tip number 1, and this happens before we even get into all this cool stuff that's going to really help you with your ball striking. Come and have a look at this. You need to assess your lie. Now, look at this. If you end up on the fairway and you have a beautiful lie like this, you can get the full face of that club into the back of the golf ball. In fact, you could get any club into the back of that golf ball. That's perfect for hitting your fairway woods off the ground. So great, tick in the box. You can use your fairway wood or your hybrid. You're all good to go. But look at this. Come and have a look at this one. Just a few inches this side, I've just found the rough. And now look, I can't get that club to the bottom of that golf ball. I can only get it 1/3 up from the bottom. That is a top every day of the week. Now, I could avoid hitting a top by actually striking down on that golf ball, maybe moving the ball slightly further back in my stance. That would certainly improve my strike. But if I've got a 3-wood in my hands and I've lent and I'm hitting down, I've taken all that loft off of that 3-wood, that 15 degrees, and turned it into almost like 5. That ball's gonna come off like a rocket, too low to the ground. So when your ball is maybe not even in the rough, look at this here, look. If I move that ball there, that's still nestled, look, see how it just drops into like a little muddy kind of indentation there. That makes that lie very difficult. You're gonna have to come down on it. Whenever you come down on it, you de-loft something. You're gonna have to de-loft it. Ball's gonna go back in your stance. Suddenly now, a fairway wood is probably not the best choice. You're going to need something with more loft. If you've got a hybrid, maybe like a 5 or a 6 that has maybe 26, 27 degrees, that's okay on a lie like that because you can come down on it. But 3-woods and 5-woods, very risky, okay? In fact, joking aside, me and my dad went to St Andrews recently. My dad, who's been playing golf for like 30 odd years, probably 40 odd years, took a hybrid out of pretty much a hole on a golf course. So no matter how long you've been playing, we all make these mistakes. But this is one of the reasons why so many people top it. It's not down to your swing, it's because you haven't assessed your lie. So you've assessed the lie, you're almost ready to make a swing. But there's one more thing you need to do beforehand. Remember, the golf swing is a circle, yeah? And there's always a low point to that circle, really important. Now, I've got my driver here because I want to show you the difference between a driver, a fairway wood, a hybrid, and an iron. Now with a driver, I set up here, look, with the ball in line with my lead heel. Now, why do I do that? Because I want to hit this ball, it's beautifully perched up on a tee. I want to hit the ball slightly on the way up so I can launch it miles down the fairway, okay? Now, the low point of your circle is directly underneath your lead armpit here. Now, my lead armpit is just set just behind the ball here. Absolutely perfect for me to simply make a swing. And all from here, look, I can simply, boom, hit that ball beautifully off that tee. Piece of cake, right? Now the problem is, if I go to my 5-wood or 3-wood and I literally do the same thing, what's gonna happen is my low point is behind that ball here and I start to come down, I'm now gonna hit it up and there's no tee, I'm gonna top it along the ground, right? So what do? Well, we need to move that ball behind the low point. And the way we do that, look, is we start with the driver position here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move just about a club and a half's width, but maybe a club width should be enough. And what I've done is my low point now is just ahead of that golf ball. This is absolutely ideal, look, to make a swing where I'm going to swing, the club's going to come beautifully down the circle, strike the ball, then the ground just afterwards, and make a great strike. Beautiful. Now look at this. Come on, a quick closer look at this. You can see here, look, there was where the ball was, and the divot, look, is afterwards. My low point is after the golf ball. This is what's going to give you your strikes with your woods. Now, the only difference with a hybrid and an iron, and it's very, very subtle, is every club, every ball that you hit off the ground needs to be struck slightly on the way down. So where the fairwood might be a club width, you might do a club and a half with your hybrid, okay? Simple as that. Or anything that's going to help you strike the ball than the ground. This is the main difference between driver or any club for that matter off a tee. Now, some people say, well, what do I do if I was teeing my freewood up maybe off a tee? Well, you can get away, remember, anything off a tee, you can get away with a slightly upward strike, which is one of the reasons why a lot of players love to hit, they love those lies where you're perched up in the rough. When it's perched up in the rough, you can get away with an upward strike because in theory, it's on a little tee. Anything that's down, nestled down or whatever, requires a downward strike. So, ball position relative to where your low point is, very, very important. Experiment with moving it slightly further back, so you naturally guarantee a downward strike. So tip number 3, and we're now on to the swing and trying to help you improve your strike, maybe stop topping your woods, get a consistent strike. Now, the simplest way I know for you to try and achieve this, and I gave this to one of the guys, Clive, who was really struggling with consistency, is the feet together exercise. A lot of the time, look, fairwoods are tricky. They really require a kind of a premium swing, right? Now, the simplest way to achieve that is you put your feet together like this, turn your lead foot out. Now, I want you here to maintain a consistent circle, yeah? Backwards and forwards. We've been discussing it. But a lot of times when people are making a swing, they're tending to lift up like this. They tend to sway off the ball. Now, what I love about the feet together exercise here, to start with at least, is this. It really helps you maintain and get a sense of swinging in balance. Now, notice this. As you do this, I'm not trying to stay still like this and just swing my arms. I'm basically making a swing, swinging with as much freedom in my ankles, my knees, my hips as you physically can, and simply hold that balance, swinging balance. Now, what I love about this is if you go slightly off, you're going to feel it immediately, and it gives you a great feedback for you to immediately improve next time, okay? So what I did is, and what Clive was amazed at when he hit this shot. Now, of course, it took him a few attempts initially just to get the feel of this. He lost his balance, great feedback for him. But after a while, he could not believe how far he was hitting the shot because the feet together drill ensures, look at that, consistent contact. I have to basically swing in balance and and look after the quality of that circle over and over again. And if I lose my balance, I'm immediately going to get instant feedback, and you will too. So learn to swing in balance with your feet together and then gradually move them slightly further apart like this and just build it up gradually. That way you can build a great swing. And look at that. I've absolutely ripped that down the middle of the fairway with what is just a very, very tiny motion, okay? And you can see here, I'm taking a slight divot after that golf ball. That means I'm striking the ball then the ground. This is what's giving me that lovely strike each and every single time. I am not trying to lift the ball up in the air, which one thing I want you to just bear in mind, just before we move on to the next step. Some of the guys don't have, in the group, didn't have the power really to be using a freewood. Very few people should be using freewood. Most people should be using 5-woods and 7-woods, things we've loft because they don't have the clubhead speed. If you don't have the clubhead speed, you could put a great swing on your freewood. The ball still goes really, really low. And the problem is psychologically, you start to try to lift the ball up in the air just to get more elevation, ruining your swing. Often, using a 5-wood, 7-wood, you're going to hit it just as far, if not further, than you'll ever hit a freewood. So tip number 4, and this is really helpful for those of you who might struggle with, topping it or sometimes even fatting your kind of your fairwoods and your hybrids. Now, ultimately here it's radius control. A lot of times when people are swinging this and they're creating this circle, what they tend to do, often with the fear of maybe hitting the ground, they pull up their arms like this. You see them kind of almost like this, getting quite nervous. So what I want you to do is just extend those arms out. We want to maintain, look, the radius of the circle. We don't want those arms kind of lifting. Now, the simplest way to do that, let's combine it with the feet together drill. I want you to imagine putting the club maybe a foot behind the ball like this. And all we're going to do, stretch out those arms and just imagine gliding the fairway wood maybe a couple of feet past the ball. So foot behind the ball, a couple of feet past the ball. And you're just going to get a sense of this kind of extension through the impact area here, right? Then what you're going to do, you're going to combine that kind of motion here with the feet together exercise, really sensing that you've got this kind of long kind of arc in this swing. You haven't got this kind of chop and this kind of lifting motion. You're really looking after the bottom of that circle, okay? So feet together again, just again visualize that kind of sweeping motion. Yes, we're coming slightly down on it, but we're not chopping down and we're certainly not lifting up. So just visualize that lovely shallow arc of that circle. Again, we'll stick to the feet together drill to really enhance your mechanics. Absolute beauty down the middle of the fairway. So tip number 5, I give it to so many people, rhythm. With all of this, if you find yourself rushing your golf swing in any shape or form, find something to kind of concentrate on, to create the rhythm. And what I like to do is I like to put my attention on the club head a lot, and I help my students do this by going 1, when the club gets to the top of the back, so we're going to say and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Find that rhythm. Then go in, don't waste any time. Get yourself set, put our feet fairly close together again. Okay, I'm gonna go 1 and 2. And what we create, look, is a beautiful flowing rhythm that isn't rushed, isn't snatched, it isn't anxious. Start to create maybe a combination of those 5 simple ways to hit your fairway woods, and I promise you, you're gonna become much more consistent off the ground. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe share it with one of your friends, and of course, look, if you're new to the channel, press that subscribe button and the bell. And remember, there's a free practice guide in the description box below. If you'd love to see how I help golfers improve their driver swing, check one of these 2 videos out here. That'll be the next stage for you after your fairway woods.